we have to cross over now and go to the Joy FM studio to catch up with the Super Morning Show. Anas is on the Super Morning Show on Joy FM this morning, and we all want to go in to listen to that conversation. So we're crossing over now to the Joy FM studio.
Whilst this investigation was going on, team members were telling me, well, it's good, let's go, let's proceed. And I'm like, well, who wants to even watch or listen to a football thing? And now everybody is interested in knowing what happened in number 12. So when the committee's report came out, there was poor officiating in there. Of course, it didn't mean that the referee in that center of event had taken money, because we couldn't prove it.
You mean the committee that looked into the May 9th,
Yes,
2001?
one of the recommendations was poor officiating, and it was part of the work I did, research. So I knew that there's something wrong somewhere. Of course, that coupled with the fact that people say it, we paid this and we paid that, there was no evidence to prove it. So we set out 2 years ago, find out whether indeed, what is actually number 12? I think that we ought to put that piece of investigation into proper perspective. Number 12 is not Ghana. It's an African phenomenon. And if you've seen, you realize that many African countries have suffered this kind of problems, where people go to stadium and they die. So we looked at number 12 as a continental issue. So in Ghana, we got 77 referees, all taking bribes. Then, of course, we looked at Africa. We got over 30-something referees in Africa. So Ghana has broken. Some other African countries have not broken. You know? Then we thought that, well, if you're looking at, you cannot be looking at only referees and think that you are making a case. Why don't you look at the sports authority? So there, I think we got about, can't remember, maybe 16 people at the Ghana Sports Authority. Then, of course, we went to the GFA, where we also got people. So number 12 is not get up one morning and embark on it. It's a well thought of, proper investigation, proper prima facie evidence gathered from sports journalists across this country who have done marvelous job over the years. I didn't know that they were so detailed and thorough like that until I got into football. Then again, when I took number 12 beginning of the year and I was talking to my team, why don't we just do something preliminary in the middle of the year? And then we see whether getting to the end of the year, we can do something more exciting. We didn't know what it was going to turn about. But people kept on warning me, when it is mixed with politics, the dynamics will change. I didn't heed to it. If I knew that number 12 would erupt this way, maybe I could have put in some more effort to make it...
more of a political expose?
No, not necessarily. Look, you start an investigation, you know exactly what you're looking for in an investigation. It is not, you see, journalism is not impulse buying. It's not. You have to be focused. You have to know exactly what you're doing. So I don't think that whilst I was doing the story, if anything touched me, there were many issues I saw whilst doing number 12. But I knew exactly. And again, you see, it is not within your remit to just decide that an investigation should go left or right. We don't do that in journalism. You are working with a team of solid investigators. You know what you've been looking for. You have started. You don't just start working. You first must establish your prima facie evidence against whoever you are investigating. Don't forget, undercover would always be a last resort. So after having established your prima facie case, you want to even ask yourself the public interest issues associated with that kind of investigation that you are doing. So if you have not done a prima facie, if you don't have any prima facie evidence and somebody pops up, you cannot carry your camera and decide to record. We don't do that. Always, the rules ought to be followed.
Right. On that point where you are doing an investigation, you have your focus, but something else comes up. For the sake of public interest, when a name like that of the president and ministers come up, doesn't it pique your interest to at least try and establish a prima facie case in that regard?
Let's put the investigation into context. How did President Nana Addo's name come in? I think that is important. So you speak to somebody, he begins to drop names. He says, okay, if you want to see the man, you must carry an amount of $12 million. Where was I going to get $12 million? It's not possible. Nobody does an investigation with a budget of $12 million. The fairness in all this is that somebody has made an allegation. Are you giving the other party a fair opportunity of answering those allegations? So, yes, then we went to the president. He gave us his side of the story. We went to the vice president. We spoke to all the ministers involved to give us their side of the story. Then we can understand the context which the person used to speak. It's up to a journalist.
Okay.
We have subjects we look at. If anybody feels looked at properly, the person has the right. You can also look there.
But beyond,
I know how to do a political story, and I know how to do a football story. For God's sake, they cannot be the same. They are different subjects, and as you ought to approach the subjects differently. That's how we do it.
Yes.
Because you have to understand the topic well. If you don't, you put yourself into
$12 million to try and follow through with what's
practically impossible.
Yes, but were there no other ways that you could have gone about establishing this beyond the face-to-face interview like you did with the president?
My brother, I am saying that I had a focus and I was doing a story. I have clarified that I know when to do a political story and how. We've learned all this. I'm sure my brothers here, Menace, all of it, we all know what we put into perspective when we decide to embark on that. And look, get this straight. You see, our background research is very important to our investigation. Without that, we will fall. We always must have our backup plans, we call it review of related literature in journalism school. That's what we say. All this ought to be in proper perspective. The research ought to be properly done. So if I got up out of this studio and something popped up, yes, it will be good for the news value. But when it gets to the investigative arena, the ball game changes. How many people did not cross-examine me during the judges' scandal? Perhaps I can say confidently that I'm the most cross-examined journalist in this country. 6, 7 lawyers, firing questions, left, right, center. I've answered, gone through all this. So I know when it is to touch a subject and when it is not to touch a subject. The key issue is that you ought to be sure that you are properly prepared, pick it up. I don't know, some may decide to do it differently, but with what I have gone through over these years, no, I would ensure that whatever I'm doing, I properly know it, I can answer questions. And look, I keep saying, let's not anybody take my... through all that. And in going through all that, it's good because it strengthens you.
Okay.
It allows you. The next work you do to take the decisions that you have to take. That's why you don't just get up and say, because I've heard the president's name, it means the president is guilty or not guilty. No, we don't do that.
Right. You mentioned earlier that this was work that did not just end with Ghana, and we saw it in the documentary. But there are some who have alleged that you were, perhaps, government wanted you to do this work, and that's why you did it.
Oh, when you say government, you mean President Nana Addo's government?
Yes, where present or past, both have come up.
Look, I have. Nana Addo on this topic. I never met anybody in the MPP to have any discussion on this topic. I did a football story, and for God's sake, because me, I don't know football, I didn't even think that people were going to be interested. I didn't know that. Look, until the day the story broke and people started making noise, I least expected this rapture of event.
So you were thinking,
my brother, when the thing was, I was sitting with my friend. I go, Commander, is that the thing that people have picked up like that? Football. So this stadium thing, people take it serious. I never expected it. You understand? And I keep saying that sometimes we just have to listen to our colleagues, what they say. Then I started calling the sports guys. Then they ask me, are you sure? You have all this? I said, oh, yes, this thing has been sitting here for over a year. They said, really? It's going to change the face of Ghana football. I said, change the face of Ghana football, how? Say, oh, this will lead to this, it will lead to that, it will lead to... I said, are you serious? Here we are. That's the results we are debating. And indeed, they did say that some people will be very hurt. And they will do all sorts of things. And I think that they are spot on, right?
Are you surprised by any of the reactions you've seen?
I am not. Based on what I learned.
From all quarters?
Look, I think it's normal in our profession to get this. And here without mentioning names, you understand? Because you know that my coming into this studio is routine. I do it every time. Already, I've heard that some people are saying that because I'm under pressure. Pressure from where? Look, this country is governed by law. That is the Ghana we have. And the fight against corruption is something that all of us must put our hands on deck to push. The frontiers of this democracy is not going to be pushed by one person. Ghana would only work if all of us put our hands together and push this country. Look, I didn't just start today. I have learned under the formidable and energetic hands of Abdul Malik Kwekubako. Fear. I was purged of fear long ago. Long ago. These antics do not do anything to me. And look, we have learned. You see, it's a strategy that is always used by distractors, and not limiting it to even only the story. Judges scandal, many other stories, also children's home, all those, they will come at you. And perhaps this is the most important thing to my colleague journalists. I want them to focus and listen to this part very carefully. And again, I was in Nigeria 3 days ago, and my colleagues, we were discussing the same thing. Look, what do these people do? I call them the hot air blowers. The first thing they will do, especially if they have their names in the story, when you are not even looking there, they will attack the story, the substance that you have put out. That's the first thing they do. When they realize that the substance is very tight, they cannot get through, then they say, okay, number two, let's go after his credibility. Let's distort it. Let's create ambiguity. So that when people get the story, they will say, well, we don't even believe it. No, when they come at you, stay focused. All they want you to do is to switch on from that substantive story and give them attention. You should never do that.
Okay.
Now, when they go through this second process of attacking your credibility and they realize that it's also watertight, they have to look for the third one. The third one is simple. We will kill you if you publish. It's normal. The Lejiwa, Zongo, it's the same tradition.
So you've had death threats after this one?
Many of it.
From
many.
Who?
But
who?
Reporters Without Borders have issued a statement. In New York, statements have been issued. GJ has issued a statement. NMC has issued a statement. Look, what is happening is an attack on journalism, not the personality. I'm not done, please. This is a key point for my colleagues. And if I'm no more, if I die today, my colleagues will continue. So I need to let them understand that this is not new. Okay, so after saying they will kill you, of course, when you hear it, you tighten your security. And indeed, they will try. So after having tightened your security, when they realize that they cannot get you, they will say, okay, now, all citizens, if you see this picture, if you see this, if you see, kill them. This is Ghana. We were not brought up that way. We don't go around killing journalists because of what they say. This country is not like that. Look, I've been around. In those days, Kumipreku demonstration, I was in there, standing right with my boss. I've seen how Ghana grew. I know where we are. Nobody is more Ghanaian than anybody. As journalists, we have a quota to contribute to our country's democracy. And we will do exactly that. It doesn't matter. People will always try to derail the process, but we will be focused and we'll make sure that the work is done.
Interesting conversation we're having here with Anas Arimio. Anas, 17 minutes past 8. And he's been talking, we started the conversation really about number 12, when corruption and greed, misconduct and greed become the norm. Let me come back to you, Anas. You spoke about how this was not done in conjunction with government. How about any other interested individuals? Coffee shop mafia, Randy Abbey, any of these people?
Look, Randy is my friend. He will forever remain my friend. Look, I don't give up on old friends. Look, the life I lead, I can't explain to you. I can only stick to my old friends. Look, Randy never got to know about this story till the last end of it when the story was coming out. How would Randy sponsor me? To do what? You understand? Of course, I knew that he had deep knowledge in football. But because I didn't want to taint and color and raise people's expectations, look, we don't set out to do an investigation knowing what the outcome will be. We hope and anticipate that, well, this story we are doing, it will be big. There are many stories we do. Sometimes we don't achieve it. Other times we do. So I couldn't have gone raising Randy Abe's hopes when I didn't know what was going to come. And me, I didn't even know that football, when it comes, they will be mentioning everybody's name. I didn't know.
Again. Okay.
You understand? So those who are saying that, now let me clarify the point about the BBC collaboration. BBC did a story about investigation. It's what has played on BBC, Betraying the Games. That's the sort of collaboration I had with BBC.
So you did not do the investigation with them?
I didn't. This is not the first time I've done. Al Jazeera did the judges' scandal. They did a story about my story. You know, I've worked with the international media. Many of them. I have worked with them.
Okay.
And so there is nothing absolutely wrong with your next question. How did you fund the investigation? I'm helping you.
Okay, hold on with that thought. It's 20 minutes past 8 on the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. We will take these important messages. When we come back, we'll deal with some more of the vexed issues. We've already dealt with the motivation for the interview, whether or not someone got him to do it, this issue of collaboration with the BBC. When we come back from these messages, we'll deal with the funding and a number of other questions in here. 0244-340-437 is our WhatsApp line. So many questions coming in. Would get some of them.